first stuff we actually ever did, like he said, it was actually me and Tony made these two beats. And he came over in Tony's basement, he just freestyled over these two beats we had. And his freestyles, they ended only because like we had looped the beat for like 5 minutes. And so he stopped because the beat ran out. And that was like the first step that we ever did. And then I did a couple other beats that I put on this album I was doing that was kind of like weird, because it was just a bunch of different stuff. But 2 of the songs were hip-hop songs, and again, he just came over and freestyled a bunch of times over them. And then we kind of like put together these 2 songs. And there was no chorus on them really. It was just more freestyle.
It's just like 5.5 minutes of freestyle verse.
And those were the first 2 beats that we put on the album.
Okay.
And then like we came up with a bunch more. We've never had more songs than on that first album. It's probably another problem with it.
Yeah. So would you say, with the coming up with the lyrics for Cure for the Common Flow, were majority of them freestyles, or did you?
Nah, I mean I actually sat down and I wrote most of them. I ended up having to rewrite a lot of stuff because it didn't flow the same way. And it felt, sometimes it would feel choppy, so I write it because it was in my head a certain way, but then you actually have to build, like breath control, for example. I had no idea about breath control, so I would write these lyrics, they're just like long lyrics, but there's no way you could spit them because there was no breath. I didn't write a breath into them, you know what I'm saying? So, because I'm not used to having to think about when to breathe. When you're freestyling, you're just doing it. It's second when you're breathing. It's as natural as breathing. But I mean, there's a lot of little things like that you don't even think about, like this technical, especially if you want to write a piece that's able to be performed, like, without doing punches, because you can record anything with punches. Like you hear a lot of like Drake, for example, he likes to do these long lines of like really quick syllables, but he's doing them in punches. Because I mean, if you try to do that, your breath, it doesn't matter who you are, your breath is gonna run out halfway through. So I mean, but that's something you couldn't perform that unless you had a track playing behind you. And like when we perform, we never have any tracks playing behind us. So I mean, we always bring my how to play it off if I make a live in London kit with me. Because you drop a line and it ain't nothing to pick you back up, bro. You gotta be able to be like,
just keep going.
And just play it off like that.
Absolutely.
But yeah. So it was sort of a learning process, but I mean, it was fun. We got through it, and got 3 albums and an EP out now.
Made it happen.
Yeah, working on a 4th one.
Hell yeah. And what were some of the main ideas or messages that you guys wanted to get across for Cure for the Common Flow, and among even your other projects?
I mean, messages-wise, I don't know, especially on Cure, I don't think we were kind of thinking about messages beyond trying to just do good hip-hop, to be honest.
Yeah.
Especially on Cure, I think, just because we were just like both really kind of getting through that album.
So I mean, we did a lot of like hardcore, like boom bap type stuff, so talking about the stuff that hip-hop was talking about forever, just sort of using it as a means to work through young male aggression, you know what I'm saying? A lot of hip-hop is really just about that. It's a positive way to develop a skill and to sort of artistically vent all the anger and sort of aggression that you feel as a young man anywhere, but especially if you're growing up like where I grew up in like Hartford by the projects. Like, I mean, there's a lot of bad ways that you can get that aggression out, and there's a few good ones, and hip-hop's definitely one of them. So a lot of it was that, but then, there was some more like personal stuff. There was some stuff about, some female relationships with females that I had. There was some stuff about sort of just like different ways to think about the world, and I tried to like work in some philosophical stuff with the poetic stuff in a few of the tracks. But some of them were just hardcore, like, So, I mean, but it was a good mix of that. And I think that mix got more evenly balanced as we kept making records.
No. So, the track that we played before we started the interview, How I Feel, what would you say, like, what made you guys come up with that track, How I Feel? Just, obviously it's saying how you guys felt at the time, but more than that, like more in depth, like just even the combination of coming up with the production as well, because it's a very smooth kind of beat and it's very deep, and the lyrics are very deep as well, and it's kind of like tells a story.
I mean, production-wise, I was just coming up with beats. I have no recollection of what I was doing when I was coming up with that beat, to be honest with you. I just liked the piano line that I came up with. Because most of that, especially the first album, but even most of our music overall, it's not actually samples. It's I play everything and then I just sample myself. So that first album was all me, like coming up with just basically just coming up with songs and then sampling those songs. And that's an example of that. Like everything in that is just something I came up with. I don't think I sampled anything in that outside of myself. So coming up with that beat, it was really just everything on that album was messing around and trying to come up with stuff I liked.
That's cool. No, absolutely.
So like the way it works is that it'll be like, yo, I came up with this new beat, they'll send it to me, and it'll be like relatively basic, just like an 8 or 16 bar loop or whatever. And like, I'll listen to it, and I'll listen to it for a while, and I won't start writing to it immediately, I'll just listen to it, and I'll sort of like get a feel of like, it's sort of like he sends me like a brick of like marble, you know what I'm saying, like how sculptors work, and like I just get a feel of how texture is and how it goes, and then like from there I just start chipping away at it in my head and coming up with different lines for it, and stitching things together and then building other things that I stitch together, and eventually it'll come around to what it is. And I mean, like you said, that beat is so laid back that like I wanted to do some more smooth stuff to it than what I usually do. But so I try to get get that butter in my voice and just suave,
Smooth like butter, man.
yeah.
For real.
So that song was more like just being laid back. There's a couple points where it gets like at the end, like Master aim, eradicate at a savage pace when we smash the gates. Like that's a little bit more aggressive, but the rest of it is sort of just like you know how it feels, man. When you're sitting back, either. But it has undertones of like more serious and kind of like sad subjects to it, but it has that smooth feel. Like things are rough, but you're gonna make it through type of feel. That's what I was going for mostly.
Nah, for real, absolutely right there. I heard one of your projects, Kingdom, and there was one track that stuck out to me, which was I believe it was Gunslingers. It had like the Western kind of vibe to it, the production to it. I actually liked it. I thought that was pretty cool. I liked the sample and the scratching in it as well. And I also saw the video. I like the Clint Eastwood clips in it. It was on YouTube. I thought it was fresh, man. That was dope. I mean, that's creative, man. And it actually reminded me of a guy that I collaborated with over in the UK, and he would use a lot of like, kind of like older samples like that. Like he would use like a Western sample like that. So I was like, yo, that's pretty cool, similar things, So what were the ideas behind Kingdom as well? And just basically, what was up with that? Like when you guys put that track together, like what made you guys think of coming up with the whole Western vibe and everything for that one track?
Yeah, the thing is on that track, that if I'm remembering right, that track started off with a completely different beat that I ended up hating. And then I just replaced everything with that stuff. Probably because I was watching a lot of westerns at the time.
Yeah, I mean we both like that. Yeah, that's what we like. We like that old Clint Eastwood stuff, like the good, the bad, the ugly, a handful of what's it called?
A fistful of dollars.
Fistful of dollars. Tombstone, like all of that is good. So like every once in a while we like to challenge ourselves by giving ourselves like a subject matter. Like in Blood of the Shogun, you hear like a lot of it's like old school sort of feudal Japanese like war lyrics. Like that's how we go on that. So like a lot of times we'll come up with an idea for like a theme for a song, so that we can actually challenge ourselves instead of just writing random lyrics. Like there's a lot of cats who hear their songs and like the chorus will be about something, and one of the verses will be about something, and the other two verses will be about a completely different thing than the rest of the song sounds like. You know what I'm saying? So it adds an extra layer of like challenge and skill to it. To stay in that crazy rhyme scheme. Because a lot of times you stay in a rhyme scheme, it's hard to say something within that rhyme scheme. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you feel like a 16-bar rhyme scheme, you're not trying to change it all, but you just want to make it long and real complicated. It's hard to make that say what you want it to say while staying within that rhyme scheme. So it adds just an extra layer of challenge to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes, a lot of times, I'll write stuff. I have no idea what I'm going to say, but I just try to make it as complicated and fit into the rhyme scheme as much as I can while being clever. You know what I'm saying? But then other times you want to push yourself a little to that extra level where you're going to keep it not only going in the technical direction that you want it to go, but going in the thematic direction that you want it to go too.
No, absolutely. I believe that, man. And I was actually going to mention that Blood of the Shogun. It has a very warrior vibe to it, just the title itself. I was going to ask about that. You guys already summed that up for me. And by the way, I thought that was your future project coming up next. Is that already out now? Blood of the Shogun's not out already.
It's one.
It's in the making
It's
right now, right?
It's gonna be another re-release. So what we're doing is, what we like to do is we like to go back and reprise our old stuff and make it stronger. Because there was a few tracks on there that we felt, again, this is our second album, and so we're still kind of trying to find our stride. It's much more solid than the first album, but it's not there yet. I think we get there in our third album.
No, you think absolutely. Blood of the Shogun.
Oh, Blood of the Shogun. All right, yeah. The Blood of the Shogun is where we get. We're actually re-releasing the second album, I should say. That's the next thing that's coming out, Kingdom.
Kingdom.
Yeah. And then Blood of the Shogun, we gonna re-release that. That doesn't need to hardly anywhere. That's
we're
like
well, I should say I'm re-engineering the whole thing just to make it sound better. We're not the first two. We're doing this kind of like paring down and re-recording stuff that we were really happy with. The third one we actually like as an album a lot, but I'm just re-engineering things so it sounds crisper.
What's the title for the third album?
Third is Blood of the Shogun.
Blood of the Shogun. Okay. Sorry for the confusion for a second.
Nah, I'm doing it and I'm confused by it. You know?
Nah, it's all good though. Practice makes perfect though, you know what I mean?
See,
So like,
I mean, we're our own biggest critics, you know what I'm saying? It's like we take it so seriously. Like we're not like, I'll rework a verse a bunch of times and then re-record it a few times sometimes. Because after I go back and listen to it, I'm like, time is off there. Like, and he hates me because I'll like scrap things over and over again when we're recording. And he's sitting there engineering while recording. I mean, he does everything. He's a producer to engineer everything. Like, so, but when we're recording, believe me, it'll sound pretty good. But if I know I can do it better, then I'm gonna do it better. Like, because I want to make sure everything comes out as clear, as precise, and I want to make sure that every single syllable, every single sound that I make is doing what I wanted to do on those tracks. Like, I pick everything out very carefully. There's not a word in any of my songs that's not there for a reason, in my opinion.